Indonesia's emergence as a future blue water naval power is not merely a matter of acquiring new ships. It is a reflection of how Indonesia sees itself in the coming decades. As the world's largest archipelagic nation, stretching across vital maritime choke points and commanding some of the most strategic sea lanes on Earth, Indonesia has every structural reason to evolve from a coastal defense navy into a navy capable of projecting presence, influence, and reassurance across thousands of kilometers of ocean. The recent addition of Italian-built PPA vessels and the prospect of operating a former Italian aircraft carrier are powerful indicators of this transformation. For Indonesian audiences, these developments speak directly to national identity, maritime destiny, and regional leadership. The PPA class represents a major step forward. In their current form, these vessels arrive in Light Plus configuration, meaning they are already capable platforms, but are not yet fully equipped with long-range strike missiles or advanced anti-air systems. However, the strategic intent is clear. Once Indonesia outfits these ships with surface-to-air and surface-to-surface missile systems, advanced decoy suites, and ship-borne electronic warfare, the PPA will not simply patrol territorial waters, it will operate far beyond them. With a hull optimized for long-duration deployments, these vessels embody endurance and reach. The operational meaning of this is simple. Indonesia is preparing to become a maritime player that does not just react to events within its borders, but actively shapes the environment around them. The possible acquisition and operation of the ex-Italian aircraft carrier Giuseppe Garibaldi is even more symbolic. The idea of Indonesia possessing an aircraft carrier would have seemed unlikely 20 years ago. Today, it appears almost inevitable. But this is not merely about owning a large warship. It is about capacity, the ability to use a carrier as a humanitarian support platform for disaster relief missions, as a helicopter staging point for maritime surveillance, as an offshore base for special forces operations, and eventually, potentially, as an aircraft launch platform in a broader power projection role. What matters most is signaling. In Asia, the nations that operate carriers belong to a certain tier of maritime sophistication. India does. Japan effectively does via large STOVL-capable platforms. South Korea intends to. And Indonesia now stands on the threshold of joining that echelon. Geography gives Indonesia a unique vantage. The country straddles three essential maritime gateways: the Strait of Malacca, the Sunda Strait, and the Lombok Strait. Between them, a huge portion of global commercial traffic passes. These are arteries of the world economy, and Indonesia sits astride them. A navy capable of blue water operations reinforces Indonesia's ability to serve as maritime gatekeeper and stabilizer, to guard its exclusive economic zone, and to prevent incursions into its Natuna maritime region. In an era of increasing strategic competition, control over these sea lanes equates to leverage. Leverage in diplomacy, leverage in negotiation, leverage in security relationships. When contrasted with the Philippines, the developmental trajectories of the two navies reveal different strategic philosophies. The Philippines is currently rebuilding a navy that had declined for decades, and it remains focused mostly on littoral operations and near-coast maritime defense. Indonesia, meanwhile, is now developing and deploying assets that can sail far from home ports and sustain operations over extended periods. This is not superiority for the sake of pride. It is a reflection of Indonesia's maritime geography and responsibility. With a navy capable of blue water operations, Indonesia assumes a leadership role within ASEAN as the strongest indigenous naval presence. A crucial component of this transformation is domestic industrial capability. What Indonesia is achieving at PPA is not simply cost savings or national pride. It is strategic autonomy. Building Scorpene-class submarines through technology transfer is not just about acquiring boats. It is about absorbing knowledge. Indonesian technicians, naval architects, and engineers are becoming fluent in complex naval fabrication processes, underwater acoustic design, propulsion maintenance, and combat system integration. Over time, this internal capability will reduce reliance on foreign suppliers and increase Indonesia's resilience in the event of geopolitical tension or embargo. Indonesia is also expanding its international naval partnerships in multiple directions simultaneously. It hosts and participates in large-scale multilateral exercises such as Komodo, which bring together dozens of navies for humanitarian cooperation, maritime security exercises, and interoperability drills. It conducts bilateral exercises with India, reflecting a deepening of Indo-Pacific maritime security convergence. It engages with European defense entities, not only purchasing ships, but engaging in strategic industrial collaboration. These ties with Italy, France, the United Kingdom, and India are part of a larger pattern. Indonesia is positioning itself as a stable maritime partner to many, rather than dependent on one. This multi-vector defense diplomacy aligns with Indonesia's enduring principle of bebas aktif, free and active engagement. Unlike the Philippines, which leans heavily on its military alliance with the United States for security guarantees, Indonesia prefers a posture of independent balancing, maintaining relations with all major powers without binding itself to any single one. This allows Indonesia to operate naval assets with strategic flexibility, cooperating widely, aligning selectively, and always maintaining autonomy. Looking ahead to the period between 2030 and 2040, Indonesia's naval evolution may transform its maritime identity. A fleet equipped with modern frigates, multi-mission patrol ships, modern submarines, long-range surveillance assets, and possibly a carrier-based aviation component will possess a level of operational maturity that supports far-reaching security initiatives, anti-piracy patrols in the Indian Ocean, humanitarian relief operations in the Pacific, strategic presence missions in Southeast Asian waters, and participation in coalition maritime security frameworks. In this future, Indonesia is not merely one of many maritime nations in ASEAN. It becomes the maritime anchor of the region. A state whose naval presence is stabilizing rather than threatening, confident rather than insecure, cooperative rather than subordinate. If the 21st century is increasingly shaped by the geopolitics of sea lanes, archipelagic security, and port access, then Indonesia is positioned to become a central actor in that domain. The Blue Water Vision is ultimately a manifestation of Indonesia's national trajectory toward maritime maturity. It is about a nation looking outward across the ocean, not as a boundary, but as a pathway. It is about seeing naval power not as militarism, but as stewardship. And it is about recognizing that Indonesia's destiny, influence, and opportunities lie not only on the land, but on the water that surrounds it.